I was sitting at my kitchen table, staring at an email from the DNA testing company, when my phone rang. It was my sister, Vanessa. "Did you get your results?" she asked, her voice tight. "I'm looking at them now," I said. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold my phone. "What does it say?" I read the line I'd been staring at for the past 5 minutes, the line that made no sense, the line that was about to destroy everything I thought I knew about my life. It says there's a 0% probability that Sophie is my biological daughter. Silence on the other end. Then, "Mine says the same thing. About Emma. 0%. We'd taken the DNA tests as a joke, a fun mother-daughter bonding activity. Vanessa had suggested it after seeing an ad, one of those ancestry and health kits that tells you your genetic background and connects you with relatives. "It'll be fun," she'd said. "We can see our family tree. Maybe find some distant cousins." I had agreed. Why not? Sophie was 15, curious about genetics for a school project. It seemed harmless. We'd all done it together. Me and Sophie, Vanessa and her daughter Emma. The girls were the same age, born just 3 weeks apart in the same hospital. They'd grown up more like sisters than cousins. We'd sent in her samples, waited the 6 weeks, expected to see confirmation of what we already knew, plus maybe some interesting ancestry information. Instead, we got this. "There has to be a mistake. The lab mixed something up. These tests aren't always accurate. Natalie." Vanessa's voice was strange, flat. "What if it's not a mistake?" "What are you saying?" "What if the girls were switched at the hospital? What if we've been raising each other's daughters for 15 years? The kitchen spun around me. I gripped the edge of the table. "That's impossible. We were there. We would have known." "Would we?" "They were in the nursery. They looked similar. Both had dark hair, both born within weeks of each other. What if someone made a mistake?" "But the hospital has procedures, bands, tags. They don't just mix up babies." "Usually they don't." "But Natalie, what if someone did? What if it wasn't a mistake?" "What do you mean, not a mistake?" Vanessa took a shaky breath. "I need to come over. We need to talk. There's something I've been wondering about. Something that never made sense until now." "What?" "Not over the phone. I'm coming over. Is Sophie there?" "She's at school. She won't be home for another 2 hours." "Good. I'll be there in 20 minutes. Don't tell her anything yet. Not until we figure this out." She hung up. I sat there staring at the email, at the impossible words on the screen. Sophie wasn't my biological daughter, which meant Emma, my niece, the girl I'd known her entire life, was actually mine. And Sophie, the daughter I'd raised for 15 years, the child I'd given birth to, the child I'd nursed and rocked and loved with every fiber of my being, was Vanessa's. But how? How could this have happened? And then I thought about the one person who'd been at both births, who'd been in the nursery with both babies, who'd had access and opportunity and reason. My Aunt Carol. My hands started shaking harder. Because if Vanessa was thinking what I was thinking, if the impossible thing we were both afraid to say out loud was true, then this wasn't a hospital error. This was deliberate. Someone had switched our babies on purpose, and I was about to find out why. My name is Natalie Harper, and I'm 42 years old. My sister Vanessa is 18 months older than me. We've always been close, not just sisters, but best friends. We talk every day. We live 10 minutes apart. Our daughters have been inseparable since birth. Or since we thought was their birth. Since we thought we knew who they were. I had Sophie 15 years ago when I was 27. I was married to Daniel then. We'd been together since college, married for 3 years. Sophie was planned, wanted, celebrated. The pregnancy was normal, textbook even. I gave birth at St. Mary's Hospital on April 3rd. A healthy baby girl, 7 pounds, 2 ounces, dark hair, dark eyes. They put her in my arms and I fell in love instantly. That's my daughter, I thought. That's Sophie. Vanessa had Emma 3 weeks later, on April 24th, same hospital, also a healthy baby girl, 7 pounds, 5 ounces, dark hair, dark eyes. We joked about how similar they looked. They could be twins, people would say. Are you sure the hospital didn't mix them up? We'd laugh. Of course we were sure. They were our babies. We knew them. Vanessa's situation was different from mine. She wasn't married. She'd gotten pregnant from a brief relationship that ended badly. The father wanted nothing to do with the baby, signed away his rights before Emma was born. Vanessa was scared, 29, single, about to be a single mother. Our parents were supportive, but worried. She was living with them at the time, trying to save money, figure out her life. Our Aunt Carol stepped in. Aunt Carol was our father's older sister. She was 63 when the girls were born, never married, no children of her own. She'd been a labor and delivery nurse for 40 years before retiring. She was at both births, coached us through labor, held our hands, was there when the babies were born. And more importantly, she had access to the nursery. She knew the staff. They trusted her, let her visit whenever she wanted, hold the babies, help with feedings. Looking back now, I can see how easy it would have been for her to switch them. The babies wore little bands with their names, but those could be switched. They looked similar enough that in the first days of life, no one would notice. But why would she? That's what I couldn't understand. Why would Aunt Carol switch our babies? I'd thought about it the entire 20 minutes while waiting for Vanessa. Tried to make sense of it. Came up with nothing that made sense. Until Vanessa arrived. She came in without knocking, like always. But her face was different. Pale. Strained. She looked like she'd been crying. "Tell me," I said. "Tell me what you're thinking." She sat down at my kitchen table, pulled out her phone, opened a note she'd written. "I've been making a list," she said, "of things that never made sense, things I noticed over the years but dismissed." "What things?" "Emma's allergies. She's allergic to shellfish, severely. I'm not. You're not. No one in our family is either. But Sophie is." I felt cold. Lots of people have food allergies. Emma's blood type is B positive. I'm O positive. You know how I know my blood type? Because when I was pregnant, they tested me, and they told me that if the father was B, the baby could be too. But Natalie, I know the father. I tracked him down once to try to get child support. He got tested for paternity. He's O positive too. 2 O positive parents can't have a B positive child. It's genetically impossible. My hands went numb. "Did you question it?" "I did. I asked my doctor. She said sometimes labs make mistakes in recording blood types, that it wasn't uncommon. I believed her because I didn't have any reason not to." "What else?" "Emma doesn't look like me. I've always noticed it. Everyone has. People say she looks like her father, but I've seen pictures of him. She doesn't look like him either. But you know who she does look like?" "Who?" "Daniel, your ex-husband. She has his chin. his nose, his smile. I thought about Emma, sweet, quiet Emma, with her shy smile and her love of reading, the niece I'd known her whole life. Did she look like Daniel? I'd never thought about it before. But now that Vanessa said it, and Sophie, Vanessa continued, Sophie has my temperament, my competitiveness, my loud laugh. You've always said she's more like me than like you. It was true. Sophie was outgoing, athletic, confident. Nothing like quiet, bookish me. I'd always assumed she got it from Daniel's side of the family. That's not proof, I said. Kids can inherit traits from anywhere. No, but it's evidence. And there's more. She looked down at her phone. Remember when Emma was 10 and needed surgery? Appendicitis? Yes. They asked for family medical history. I gave them ours. They asked specifically about autoimmune disorders because apparently there were some markers in her blood work. I said no one in our family has autoimmune issues. But Daniel's mother has lupus, I said quietly. Exactly. And Emma was diagnosed with juvenile lupus last year at 14. The doctors were surprised because there was supposedly no family history. But there was. Just not in my family. I put my head in my hands. This can't be real. This can't be happening. There's more, Vanessa said. She looked down at her phone. Remember when Emma was 10 and needed surgery? Appendicitis? Yes. They asked for family medical history. I gave them ours. They asked specifically about autoimmune disorders because apparently there were some markers in her blood work. I said no one in our family has autoimmune issues. But Daniel's mother has lupus? Exactly. And Emma was diagnosed with juvenile lupus last year at 14. The doctors were surprised because there was supposedly no family history. But there was. Just not in my family. I put my head in my hands. This can't be real. This can't be happening. There's more, Vanessa said. She looked down at her phone. Remember when Sophie was 12 and needed a blood transfusion? Remember? After that bike accident. I remember. She'd crashed going down a hill, hit her head, had internal bleeding. It was terrifying. You were out of town, so I went to the hospital with her and Daniel. They asked for blood type. Daniel said he thought Sophie was O positive like him, but when they tested her, she was B positive. The doctor said sometimes kids don't match their parents' blood types depending on genetics, but she seemed puzzled. I was O positive, both of us O positive. Can't have a B positive. I know, but I didn't know that then. I just trusted what the doctor said. We sat in silence. When did you start suspecting? I asked. About 2 years ago. Emma was 13. She needed glasses. The optometrist asked for family history of vision problems. I said no, you said no. But Emma's vision got worse and worse. Then last year, she was diagnosed with a genetic condition, retinitis pigmentosa, progressive vision loss. I remember. You were devastated. The genetic counselor said it's inherited. She asked for detailed family history. I went through everything, our parents, grandparents, cousins. No one had it. She seemed confused, said maybe it was a random mutation, but usually there's some family history. Daniel's father was blind, I said. My voice sounded far away, starting in his 40s. They said it was genetic. You know that, Vanessa nodded. I know, you told me that years ago. I didn't connect it until recently. And then I thought, what if? What if Emma isn't mine? But you didn't say anything. Would you have believed me? I barely believed myself. It seemed insane, impossible. So I pushed it away until you suggested the DNA tests. I had no idea. I just thought it would be fun. I know, but when you suggested it, I thought, maybe this is how I find out. Maybe this is how I know for sure if something really did happen. I looked at the email on my laptop screen again.
Did she, though? Vanessa asked. Think about it. Really think about it. I thought about holidays, birthday parties, family gatherings, and slowly I started to see it. The subtle differences. How Aunt Carol always bought Emma slightly nicer gifts. How she'd offer to babysit Emma more often. How she'd light up when Emma entered a room. I thought she just bonded more with Emma, that they had a special connection. But what if it was more than that? You think she favored Emma, I said. I think she favored her biological niece. But Emma isn't... I stopped. Emma is your biological daughter. If they were switched, then Emma is actually my daughter, and Sophie is actually yours. Right, so Carol switched them, giving you your biological daughter and me mine. But why? Why would she do that? I don't know, unless a memory surfaced. Something I'd forgotten. Or maybe something I'd never wanted to examine too closely. What? Vanessa asked. Do you remember when we were kids, how Aunt Carol always talked about her sister? She didn't have a sister. No, she had a sister who died before we were born. Dad's younger sister. Her name was Diane. I never heard this. It was never talked about. I only know because I overheard Dad and his brother talking about it once. Diane died in childbirth. She was 29, unmarried. The baby died too. Vanessa went very still. 29 and unmarried. Like I was when I had Emma. The baby was a girl. Diane had gotten pregnant from a relationship that ended badly. The family was supportive, but worried. She lived with her parents while she was pregnant, just like me. Aunt Carol was a labor and delivery nurse even then. She was there when Diane went into labor. There were complications and they couldn't save either of them. When was this? 35 years ago. Carol was in her late 20s. She never got over it. Never married, threw herself into her work, into our family. We looked at each other. You think she saw Diane and me? Vanessa said. And maybe she saw a second chance, a way to make things right. If she switched the babies, she could ensure that Diane's situation, single mom, struggling, would have a different outcome. By giving me the baby she thought should have been Diane's? Or maybe she thought you deserved the baby with fewer health issues. Sophie doesn't have the vision problems, doesn't have the lupus markers. Carol would have known about Daniel's family history. She was there for all our family gatherings. She knew about Daniel's mother's lupus, his father's vision problems. So she gave you the baby who would have health issues, and me the healthy one? That doesn't make sense. Unless she thought I could handle it better. I was married, financially stable, had insurance. You were struggling. Maybe she thought she was protecting you. Vanessa stood up abruptly. We're speculating. We need to talk to her. Ask her directly. And say what? Did you switch our babies 15 years ago? She'll deny it. Not if we have proof. Not if we show her the DNA results. I thought about the girls. Sophie at school, completely unaware that her entire identity was about to be questioned. Emma, probably at Vanessa's house, doing homework, also unaware. We need to tell them, I said. Not yet. Until we know for sure. Not until we talk to Carol and figure out what really happened. But Vanessa, they deserve to know. They deserve to know the truth, not speculation. Let's get the truth first, then we tell them together. She was right. but the weight of it was crushing. What if Carol admits it? I asked. What do we do then? I don't know, but we'll figure it out. Together. We called Aunt Carol. She answered on the second ring, cheerful as always. Girls, what a nice surprise. Both of you calling together? Aunt Carol, we need to talk to you. Can you come over to my house? It's important. Of course, dear. Is everything all right? Are the girls okay? They're fine, but we need to discuss something. In person. I can be there in an hour. Is that all right? That's fine. We'll see you then. We hung up. Vanessa and I looked at each other. She didn't sound guilty, Vanessa said. What does guilty sound like? I don't know, but she sounded normal. Happy, even. Maybe she doesn't know we know. Maybe she thinks she got away with it. Or maybe we're completely wrong about all of this. But we weren't wrong. Deep in my gut, I knew we weren't wrong. Something happened 15 years ago. Something deliberate. Something that changed the entire trajectory of 4 lives. And in 1 hour, we were going to find out what.
Aunt Carol arrived exactly 1 hour later. She let herself in with the key I'd given her years ago, carrying a tin of cookies she'd baked. I brought snickerdoodles, she said brightly. I know they're Sophie's favorite. She stopped when she saw our faces, set the tin down on the counter. What's wrong? You both look terrible. Sit down, Aunt Carol, Vanessa said. You're scaring me. What's happened? Please, just sit. Carol sat at the kitchen table, folded her hands in front of her. She was 78 now, still sharp, still active. She'd been retired for 13 years, but still volunteered at the hospital once a week. I opened my laptop, turned it to face her, showed her the DNA results. We took DNA tests, me and Sophie, Vanessa and Emma, for fun, to see our ancestry. Carol looked at the screen. Her face didn't change. And? She asked. And the results say there's a 0% probability that Sophie is my biological daughter, and a 0% probability that Emma is Vanessa's biological daughter. Still no reaction. She just kept looking at the screen. Do you understand what that means? Vanessa asked. It means the test is wrong, Carol said calmly. Those tests aren't always accurate. We thought that too, so we looked closer at the girls' medical histories, their blood types, their genetic conditions. I pulled out the notes Vanessa had made, read through them. The blood type incompatibilities, Emma's lupus, her vision problems, both matching Daniel's family history. Sophie's allergies matching Vanessa's ex-boyfriend's family. Carol listened without interrupting. Her face remained neutral. And we remembered, I continued, that you were at both births, that you had access to the nursery, that you knew both babies. Lots of people had access to the nursery, but you're the only one who would have had reason to switch them. Why would I switch them? Vanessa leaned forward. We think it has to do with your sister, with Diane. For the first time, Carol's expression changed. A flicker of something. Pain, maybe. Or recognition. Diane has nothing to do with this. Doesn't she? Single mother, 29 years old, pregnant from a relationship that ended badly, living with her parents, struggling. Sound familiar? That's not... You were there when she died, I said. You couldn't save her. You couldn't save her baby. And maybe when Vanessa got pregnant in almost the exact same situation, you saw a second chance. Carol's hands tightened in her lap. You're speculating. Then tell us the truth. Did you switch the babies or not? She looked between us. Her jaw tightened. No. You're lying, Vanessa said. I am not lying. I did not switch your babies. Then explain the DNA results. Explain the medical histories. Explain how Emma has genetic conditions from Natalie's ex-husband's family and Sophie has traits from your family. I can't explain it, but I didn't switch them. Maybe the hospital made an error. Maybe somehow the babies got mixed up and no one noticed. But it wasn't me. She stood up. I think I should go. Sit down, I said firmly. We're not done. Yes, we are. You've accused me of something horrible based on a DNA test that could be wrong and a lot of coincidences. I won't stay here and be interrogated like a criminal. Then take a DNA test yourself, Vanessa said. If you didn't switch them, prove it. Test your DNA against the girls. Carol paused. Why would I do that? Because if you're telling the truth, the test will show that Sophie and Emma are both your biological great-nieces through our father. But if you switch them, if Emma is actually Natalie's daughter and Sophie is actually mine, the genetic relationship will be different. That's not how DNA tests work. It is, actually. The test can show degrees of relationship. First cousins, second cousins, aunts, great aunts. If the girls were switched, their genetic relationship to you would be slightly different than expected. Carol sat back down slowly. You've really thought this through. We've had time to think. So will you take the test? No. Why not? If you're innocent, it would prove it. Because I don't have to prove anything to you. You're my nieces. I've loved you your whole lives. I've loved those girls like they were my own grandchildren. And you're standing here accusing me of something monstrous based on speculation? It's not speculation. Aunt Carol, please, just tell us the truth. We need to know. The girls need to know. The girls don't need to know anything. They're happy. They're loved. Why would you want to disrupt their lives with this? Because they deserve to know who they are. They know who they are. Sophie is your daughter, Natalie. Emma is your daughter, Vanessa. That's who they are. Biology doesn't change that. But biology matters. Medical history matters. Knowing where they come from matters. Why? So you can tell them their entire lives have been a lie? So you can destroy their sense of identity? For what? To satisfy your curiosity? This isn't about curiosity. This is about truth. Carol stood again. Truth is overrated. Love is what matters. Those girls love you. You love them. That's the truth that matters. She walked toward the door. Diane would have been 29 when she died, Vanessa said quietly. Carol stopped, her back to us. She was 7 months pregnant when she went into labor. Complications, placental abruption. She hemorrhaged. They couldn't save her. How do you know that? Carol's voice was tight. I found the hospital records, public records. After you retired, I looked it up. I wanted to know about the aunt we'd never met. Carol turned around. Her face was different now. Older. Sadder. Why are you bringing this up?
Because I think it haunted you. I think you blamed yourself. You were her nurse. You were there when it happened. I didn't blame myself. It wasn't my fault. But you felt responsible anyway. And when I got pregnant, unmarried, struggling, just like Diane, you saw a chance to fix it, to make sure it ended differently this time. That's not. Carol's voice broke. You don't know what you're talking about. Then tell us. Tell us what really happened. Carol walked back to the table, sat down heavily. She looked every one of her 78 years suddenly. You want the truth? She asked. Yes. Fine. The truth is, I loved both those babies the moment they were born. I held them, fed them, cared for them, and I knew they were in the right hands. That's the truth. That's not an answer, I said. It's the only answer you're going to get. Vanessa pulled out her phone. I'm calling the hospital. I'm requesting the original birth records, the footprints they took, the ID bands. They keep those.
We can compare them to the girls now. You'll traumatize them for nothing. Or we'll get answers. Carol's hands were shaking. She pressed them flat on the table. Stop, she said. Please stop. Then tell us, I said. Did you switch them or not?
Yes, Carol agreed. It is, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry for putting you in this position. I'm sorry for making that choice without your knowledge. But I'm not sorry for giving those girls the lives they've had. She stood up. I'll leave now. You two need to talk, need to decide what to do. But please, before you tell them, think about what you're really accomplishing. Think about whether the truth is worth the pain. She walked to the door, paused. For what it's worth, I've loved those girls every day of their lives. I've watched them grow into amazing young women. And whatever you decide, that won't change. They're my family. All of them. Then she left. Vanessa and I sat in silence. She's right about one thing, Vanessa said finally. Telling them will destroy them. But not telling them is a lie. We've been lying for 15 years. What's a few more? We haven't been lying. We didn't know. But now we do. And if we don't tell them, we're choosing to lie. I put my head in my hands. I don't know what to do. Me neither. My phone buzzed. A text from Daniel, my ex-husband. Can I pick up Sophie tomorrow instead of Sunday? Work thing came up. Daniel, who divorced me 3 years ago, who had joint custody of Sophie, who had no idea that Sophie wasn't biologically his daughter. We have to tell them, I said. We have to tell everyone, because this is going to come out eventually. The girls have the DNA results. They're going to ask questions. And when they do, we need to have answers. But how? How do we tell them something like this? I don't know, but we figure it out together. We sat there as the afternoon sun faded, trying to figure out how to tell two 15-year-old girls that their entire lives were based on a lie. A lie told out of love, or guilt, or grief, but a lie nonetheless. And now we had to live with the consequences. We decided to wait, to think it through, to figure out the right way to tell them, but we didn't get the chance. 2 days later, I came home from work to find Sophie sitting at the kitchen table with my laptop open, the DNA results on the screen. What does this mean? She asked. Her voice was quiet, too quiet. My stomach dropped. Sophie, I didn't explain. It says 0%. It says there's a 0% probability that you're my biological mother. What does that mean? I sat down across from her. My mind raced. We weren't ready. We didn't have a plan. Vanessa and I were supposed to tell them together, gently, with time to explain everything. How did you find this? I asked. You left your laptop open. I was going to use it for homework, and I saw the email, so I read it. She looked at me, and her eyes were filled with tears. Are you not my real mom? Sophie, I am your real mom. I raised you. I love you. That will never change. But biologically? I took a breath. There was no point in lying now. No. Biologically, you're Vanessa's daughter, and Emma is mine. She stared at me. What? You and Emma were switched at the hospital when you were born. Switched? Like by accident? Not by accident. Her face went pale. Someone switched us on purpose? Who would do that? Aunt Carol. She thought she was helping. She thought, Aunt Carol? Sophie stood up. Aunt Carol switched me? Took me from you and gave me to Aunt Vanessa? It's more complicated than that. Sophie, please sit down and let me explain. Explain what? That my whole life is a lie? That you're not my mother? That Emma's actually your daughter and I'm just... What? A mistake? You're not a mistake. You're my daughter. The one I raised. The one I love. But not the one you gave birth to. Not the one who's actually yours. Sophie, biology doesn't... Don't. She backed away from me. Don't tell me biology doesn't matter.
It matters. It's why you look like Grandma and I don't. It's why Emma has your eyes and I have Aunt Vanessa's. It's why I never felt like I fit. You fit. You've always fit. No, I haven't. And now I know why. She grabbed her phone. I'm going to Emma's house. Sophie, wait! But she was already out the door. I called Vanessa. Sophie knows. She found the results on my laptop. She's coming to your house. Oh, God. Okay, I'll talk to her. She thinks her whole life is a lie. We'll figure this out. I'll call you back. She hung up. I sat at the kitchen table, staring at the laptop screen and felt everything falling apart. 20 minutes later, my phone rang. Vanessa. Both girls are here, she said. Her voice was shaking. Sophie told Emma, Natalie, they're devastated. I'm coming over. I drove to Vanessa's house, walked in without knocking, found the girls sitting on the couch, both crying, Vanessa standing helplessly nearby. Emma looked up when she saw me. Her eyes were red and swollen. Is it true? Are you my real mom? I sat down next to her. I gave birth to you, yes, but Vanessa raised you. She's your real mom too. But you didn't know? All these years, you didn't know I was yours? No, we just found out from the DNA tests. And you weren't going to tell us? Sophie asked accusingly. We were planning to tell you. We just needed time to figure out how. How long have you known? 2 days. And 2 days and you didn't think we deserved to know? We wanted to tell you the right way. Together, with time to explain everything. What's to explain? Sophie said bitterly. Aunt Carol switched us because she thought she knew better than everyone else. She gave me to the wrong mother. She didn't give you to the wrong mother, Vanessa said quietly. She gave you to me, and I've loved you every day of your life. But I was supposed to be hers, Sophie pointed at me. You were supposed to raise Emma, and she was supposed to raise me. That's how it was supposed to be. There's no supposed to be, I said. You are who you are. You've been loved and cared for. By the wrong person. I'm not the wrong person, Vanessa said, her voice breaking. I'm your mother. I've been your mother for 15 years. That doesn't just disappear because of genetics. Emma spoke for the first time since I'd arrived. What about my dad, Daniel? Is he my real dad or not? I closed my eyes. We hadn't even gotten to that part yet. Biologically, no. He's Sophie's biological father. So who's my biological father? Vanessa and I looked at each other. A man I dated briefly, before you were born. He's not in the picture. He never was. What's his name? Emma, that's not important. It's important to me. He's my biological father. I deserve to know who he is. His name is Marcus Webb. He lives in Oregon. He signed away parental rights before you were born. Does he know about me? He knew Vanessa was pregnant. He wanted nothing to do with it. But does he know I exist? That I'm his daughter? Technically, he thinks Sophie is his daughter, because that's who Vanessa registered at the hospital. Emma put her head in her hands. This is insane. This is completely insane. Sophie stood up. I want to talk to Aunt Carol. I want to hear her explain why she did this. I don't think that's a good idea right now, I said. I don't care what you think. You lied to me for 2 days. You don't get to tell me what's a good idea. She pulled out her phone, called Aunt Carol. Aunt Carol, it's Sophie. I know what you did. I know you switched me and Emma. I need you to explain, now. She listened. Then, I don't care. I'm coming over. You're going to tell me why you thought you had the right to decide my life. She hung up, looked at Emma. Come with me. Sophie, you shouldn't confront her when you're this upset. Why not? She made this decision when I was 3 days old. I think I'm entitled to be upset. Emma stood. I'm going with her. Girls, please, I started. You can come too if you want, but I'm going whether you come or not. We all went, drove to Aunt Carol's house in 2 cars, the girls in one, Vanessa and me in the other. This is gonna be bad, Vanessa said. I know. Aunt Carol answered the door like she'd been expecting us. She probably had been. Come in, she said quietly. We all filed into her living room. The girls sat on the couch, arms crossed, defensive, hurt. You wanted an explanation, Carol said. I'll give you one, but I need you to listen. Really listen. Can you do that? Talk, Sophie said. Carol sat in her chair, looked at both girls. 15 years ago, I made a decision I thought was right at the time. I switched you two in the hospital nursery. Why? Emma asked. Because I looked at your situations and I saw 2 different futures, and I wanted to give both of you the best possible chance. She explained about the medical markers, about Daniel's family history, about Vanessa's situation as a single mother with no resources. So you gave me the sick baby because I had money, I asked. I gave you the baby who might need specialists and treatments and expensive care because you could provide that. And I gave Vanessa the healthy baby because I didn't want her to drown under the weight of medical bills she couldn't afford. But that wasn't your choice to make, Sophie said. No, it wasn't, but I made it anyway. And I'd make it again. The room went silent. You'd do it again? Emma asked. Even knowing how much it's hurting us now? Yes, because look at you both. You're healthy. Emma, despite your challenges, you're thriving. You have good care, good support. Sophie, you're confident and strong and loved. Would you have been those things if your lives had been different? We'll never know, Sophie said, because you took that choice from us. I gave you the best lives I could. That was my choice. No, I said. You played God. You decided you knew better than everyone else what was right, and you destroyed 4 lives in the process. 4 lives? Look around this room. I see 2 happy, healthy girls, 2 mothers who love them. Where are the destroyed lives? You don't see it? Vanessa asked. You don't see that Sophie feels like she doesn't belong? That Emma is questioning her entire identity? That Natalie and I don't know how to parent daughters who aren't biologically ours?
Biology doesn't matter. It does. Sophie stood up. It matters to me. I spent 15 years wondering why I didn't look like my mom, why I didn't have her personality, why I felt different. And now I know, because she's not my mother. Not really. I am really your mother, Vanessa said, tears streaming down her face. Sophie, please. I raised you. I loved you. That's real. But it's based on a lie. Emma spoke quietly. What about my vision problems? My lupus? Those came from Daniel's family, a family I'm not actually part of. Did you know that would happen when you switched us? Carol looked down. I suspected you might have health challenges, yes. So you knowingly gave me health problems I wouldn't have had otherwise. No, you would have had them regardless. They're genetic. What I did was ensure you'd have the resources to manage them by giving me to the wrong mother. By giving you to a mother who could help you. Natalie has good insurance, financial stability. You've had the best specialists, the best care. Would you have had that with Vanessa 15 years ago? Maybe she would have figured it out, but you didn't give her the chance. Carol's face crumpled. I know I took something from all of you, but I gave you something too. I gave you the best possible lives I could arrange. Isn't that worth something? Not if it's built on a lie, Sophie said. She walked to the door, looked back at Carol. I don't know if I can forgive you for this.
I don't know if I can forgive any of you for keeping this from me." "Sophie," Vanessa started. "No, I need time. I need to figure out who I am, and I can't do that with everyone trying to tell me what to think." She left. Emma followed. Vanessa started to go after them, but I stopped her. "Let them go. They need space. They're 15. They're upset. What if they do something stupid?" "They're going to be upset no matter what. Chasing them won't help." We stood in Carol's living room, the three of us who'd created this mess, the three of us who had to live with the consequences. "I'm sorry," Carol said. "I never wanted to hurt them. But you did. You hurt all of us, and I don't know how we come back from this." "Maybe you don't. Maybe this is just what it is now. That's not good enough. Sometimes what we have isn't good enough, but it's all we have." I left, drove home, called the girls multiple times. They didn't answer. Finally, around midnight, Sophie texted, "I'm at Emma's. We're okay. Just need to talk. Don't worry." But I did worry. I worried that I lost my daughter, both daughters, in different ways. I worried that Sophie would never see me as her real mother again. I worried that Emma would never see me as anything but a stranger who happened to give birth to her. I worried that Aunt Carol's decision 15 years ago had broken something that could never be fixed. And most of all, I worried about what came next. Because the truth was out now. The DNA results couldn't be untaken. The girls couldn't unknow what they knew. And somehow we all had to figure out how to live with it. For 3 days, the girls barely spoke to us. They went to school together, came home to Vanessa's house together, stayed in Emma's room with the door closed. Vanessa and I gave them space. What else could we do? On the 4th day, Emma asked me to talk to her alone. I drove to Vanessa's house. Emma met me at the door, looking exhausted. "Can we go for a walk?" she asked. We walked through the neighborhood in silence for several minutes. Finally, she spoke. "I've been thinking about my health stuff, the lupus, the vision problems." "Okay." "I know my doctors always asked about family history, and Aunt Vanessa always said there wasn't any. But there was, on your side, on Daniel's side. And they didn't know to look for it because they thought I was Vanessa's daughter." "I know. I'm sorry." "Don't apologize. It's not your fault. But I need to know everything. Daniel's mother's lupus, how severe was that? His father's vision, when did it start? What else is in that family history that might affect me? I can get you all of that information. We can set up an appointment with a genetic counselor, go through everything. I'd like that because I need to know what I'm dealing with, what might be coming." We walked further. "Are you angry at me?" "I don't know. I'm angry at the situation, at Aunt Carol, at the lie, but you didn't know, so how can I be angry at you?"
You can be angry that I'm not the mother who raised you. That feels like something to be angry about. But you gave birth to me. You're the reason I exist. That feels like something too. She stopped walking, looked at me. "Can I ask you something weird?" "Of course." "What was it like when I was born? Was it good?" My throat tightened. "It was the best day of my life. You were so beautiful, so perfect. They put you in my arms and I felt this overwhelming love. I thought, that's my daughter. That's Emma." But I wasn't Emma. I was Sophie. You were both. You were the baby I held, the one I thought was mine, and then Carol switched you, and you became Emma. Do you wish she hadn't? Do you wish you'd gotten to raise me? I thought about how to answer. Honestly, I wish I'd known the truth. I wish I'd had the choice. But Sophie, the daughter Vanessa raised as mine, I love her. She's been my daughter for 15 years. I can't wish that away. even though she's not biologically yours? Even though love doesn't work like that, Emma. It's not conditional on genetics. Then why does genetics matter at all? Because it's part of who you are. Not all of who you are, but part. And you deserve to know all the parts. She nodded slowly. Sophie thinks she should switch. Come live with you, and I should go live with Vanessa to fix what Aunt Carol broke. My heart stopped. What do you think? I think it's crazy. I think we'd both be miserable. Vanessa is my mom. She raised me. I know her. I love her. Moving in with you would be like living with a stranger. Relief flooded through me. I think you're right. But Sophie feels like she doesn't belong, like she's been living in the wrong family her whole life, and I don't know how to help her with that. Maybe she needs to talk to a therapist who specializes in this kind of thing. We both probably do. We walked back to the house. At the door, Emma hugged me. Brief, but real. Thank you, she said, for telling me about my birth, for being honest. Anytime you want to know more, you ask. Anything. I'll tell you everything. That evening, Sophie called me. Can you come to Vanessa's? I want to talk to both of you. I drove over, found Sophie and Emma sitting on the couch, Vanessa in the chair, all of them looking nervous. I've been thinking, Sophie said, about what I want, what I need. Okay, I said. I don't want to switch families. Emma's right, that would be crazy. Vanessa is my mom. She raised me. I know her. I love her. Moving in with you would be like living with a stranger. Relief flooded through me. I think you're right. But Sophie feels like she doesn't belong, like she's been living in the wrong family her whole life, and I don't know how to help her with that. Maybe she needs to talk to someone, a therapist who specializes in this kind of thing. We both probably do. We walked back to the house. At the door, Emma hugged me, brief but real. Thank you, she said, for telling me about my birth, for being honest. Anytime you want to know more, you ask. Anything. I'll tell you everything. That evening, Sophie called me. Can you come to Vanessa's? I want to talk to both of you. I drove over, found Sophie and Emma sitting on the couch, Vanessa in the chair, all of them looking nervous. I've been thinking, Sophie said, about what I want, what I need. Okay, I said. I don't want to switch families. Emma's right, that would be crazy. Vanessa is my mom. She raised me. I know her. I love her. Moving in with you would be like living with a stranger. Relief flooded through me. I think you're right. But Sophie continued, I still need to know my biological family. I need to know Daniel and his family because they're my genetics, my medical history, part of who I am. That makes sense, Vanessa said quietly. So I want to meet Daniel's parents. I want to know their health history. I want to understand where I come from genetically. I'll arrange it. I'll talk to Daniel, explain everything. I'm sure his parents will want to meet you. And I want to know about Marcus, Emma said, looking at Vanessa, my biological father. I'm not saying I want a relationship with him, but I want to know who he is, what he's like, medical history. Vanessa nodded, tears in her eyes. I'll find him. I'll get that information. But, Sophie continued, I'm still living here with Vanessa. She's still my mom. That doesn't change. And I'm still living here too, Emma said, because Vanessa is my mom, the one who raised me. Vanessa started crying. Thank you. Thank you both. But we want honesty from now on, Sophie said, looking at me. No more secrets. No more protecting us from hard truths. We're not little kids anymore. You're right. No more secrets. And we want both of you to be in our lives, Emma added, not just as aunt and niece anymore, but as, I don't know, something more than that. What does that look like? I asked. I don't know yet. We're figuring it out, but maybe you could come to my doctor's appointment sometimes, since my health issues come from your family. And maybe you could tell me stories about when I was born. I'd love that. Sophie looked at Vanessa. And you need to stop treating me like I'm fragile, like I'm going to break. I'm angry and confused, but I'm not going to fall apart. Okay, I can do that. And I want to know about my biological father, the guy you dated. He didn't want me, but I still want to know about him. Vanessa took a breath. His name is Michael Grant. He lives in Seattle now. He's a software engineer, no major health issues that I know of. Brown hair, brown eyes, athletic, good humor when he wasn't being an asshole. Why did it end? He wasn't ready to be a father. When I told him I was pregnant, he panicked, said he'd pay for an abortion, but he didn't want a kid. I said I was keeping the baby. He said then he wanted nothing to do with us. Has he ever tried to contact you?
No. He signed away rights before you were born. As far as I know, he doesn't think about you at all. Sophie processed this. That's okay. I don't need a relationship with him. I just needed to know. We talked for 2 more hours. About practicalities. About feelings. About what came next. We decided that I would set up appointments with genetic counselors for both girls. Would get comprehensive family medical histories from both sides. Daniel's family for Sophie, Marcus's family for Emma. We decided Vanessa and I would both be moms to both girls, in whatever way felt right to them. We decided to tell our extended family, our parents, siblings, everyone. No more secrets. And we decided what to do about Aunt Carol. I'm not ready to see her, Sophie said. Maybe eventually, but not now. Me neither, Emma agreed. That's fair, I said. You don't owe her forgiveness. What about you? Sophie asked. Are you going to forgive her? I don't know. Maybe someday. But right now I'm too angry. Good, Sophie said, because I need you to be angry. I need to know this isn't okay with you, that you're not just accepting it because she's family. I'm not accepting it. What she did was wrong, profoundly wrong. Okay, good. At the graduation party later, I watched Sophie and Emma together. They're not just cousins anymore, not just friends. They're sisters, half-sisters, connected by genetics and by the strange twist of fate that swapped their lives. They're close in a way they weren't before, bonded by shared experience, by being the only 2 people who truly understand what it's like to discover your entire identity was based on someone else's decision. They're okay, Vanessa says, coming to stand beside me. I didn't think they would be, but they are. They're stronger than we gave them credit for. We're all stronger than we thought. She's right. 3 years ago, I thought this revelation would destroy us. And in some ways, it did. The family we were before, the simple, clear structure of mothers and daughters and cousins, that family is gone. But we built something new, messier, more complicated, but also more honest. Emma comes to my medical appointments now, sits with me when I explain her genetic risks to new doctors. She's learned to advocate for herself, to understand her health in the context of a family history she never knew she had. Sophie has a relationship with Daniel's parents that's different from the one she has with my parents, but both are real, both matter to her. And Vanessa and I have learned to share our daughters in ways we never imagined. There's no handbook for this, no rules for how to be a biological mother to one child while being a non-biological mother to another. We're making it up as we go. As for Aunt Carol, she died last year. A stroke, sudden and unexpected. The girls went to the funeral. So did Vanessa and I. We stood in the back, not saying much. At the burial, Sophie placed a letter on the casket. She never told us what it said. Emma placed one too.